Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name's Benson. What's yours? Welcome back to another Fat Man Reviews Walt Disney World, specifically Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So we had the pleasure of going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party on Friday night, which was September 21st, 2018. And this is just how it went for us, and some things to think about before you decide to go if you've never been. So we bought our tickets online, and depending on what color barcode, you can either pick them up at the gate or pick them up at the ticket and transportation window, any of the guest relations outside of the parks. And if you're gonna get them at the gate, what you have to have is your photo ID and the credit card that you bought them on. This is a little tedious because I bought them using my Magic Band account that everything's tied into, and we just happened to leave the credit card, well, the debit card that we had purchased them on in Kristen's wallet. She just carried her ID, and I had the cards and stuff with me, and we had left hers in the car, and that's the one we purchased on. So we stood in line to get to the gate to be turned away to go to guest relations, so that we could stand in another line, get cards made for us to get into the event, to then go stand back in the line at the gate. So that's something to keep in mind. If you purchase it online, make sure you absolutely have that credit card and the photo ID with you at all times. I don't really know why that was the process. There were people in front of us, though, that instead of making them get out of line, they just called another cast member over and they handled everything. So we got out of line to stand in another line to get back in that line to then have to wait for them to call a cast member over and handle what had just happened to us. So that was a little frustrating, but something to keep in mind if you're going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Make sure you have those things with you. It just never really dawned on me because I bought them with the account. I figured if you could check the Magic Band, it should show it right there, anything that we had previously purchased. So I don't know. That's just something to think about when you go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and you bought the tickets online and not at the gate. The other thing to think about when you go to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is what you're going for. So these are a special event ticket, so you're paying an additional cost if you have, no matter what, whether you're a pass holder or anything, you're paying an additional cost to get into the parks. And they do let you into the parks as early as 4 o'clock. So you can go in at 4 o'clock and ride rides and explore, but you're going to be exploring with people who are there for the day, just a regular Disney visitor. It's not going to be party related. The actual party doesn't start till 7 o'clock. Now, when you step through the gate after you've gotten your ticket, they will put a band on you, or at least they did for us. It's just a little plastic band like this, and it just says Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. It's got some candy corns on it, and it goes on at your wrist like a hospital bracelet. And when you first come in, you're just going to go to the right of Main Street, back to a little back way. They give you a little candy bag. It's a regular candy bag, and of course it's got the newest movies that are set to release or most recently released. Or you can ask for an allergy-friendly bag, which is a little bit different. And then it tells you how to collect the allergy-free items. So, and then once you go through that gate, if you do have the candy bag, they give you a little pack of candy that's got like I think ours had like a full-size M&M's, caramel M&M's, and a couple other little treats in it. And that just kind of starts you for the night, just to kind of get you into the party. And like I said, they funnel you through there. So once you're past that, you're into the parks, you can do whatever. Then at 7 o'clock, the actual party starts, because they start ushering other guests out at 6. And beyond that, like I said, you've got the park just kind of open. So because we were pass holders, I had already booked a couple fast passes on my Magic Band, and those still work just fine. So Allie and I ran and rode some rides, and then we met back up with some people to kind of explore. So the question is, what are you going to the party for? Are you going to ride rides because they're shorter lines? Are you going to hit all the candy stops because you're after 8 pounds of candy? Or are you there for the shows? And the reason I tell you to know what you're going for is so you'll know where you're going to end up or where you're going to be throughout the night. So if you're going to ride rides, that's awesome. I think Haunted Mansion was a 25-minute wait. Splash Mountain was a 5-minute wait. Pirates of the Caribbean was a 20-minute wait. We didn't get on that one, and I'm kicking myself for not, because from what I understand, they had live actors on it, and I hate that I didn't do it. But most of the rides were 15 minutes or less, and supposedly Teacups and Space Mountain had different like music or theming, or in Space Mountain's case, they like shut all the excess lights off. So like when you're going through Space Mountain and you can kind of see stuff, supposedly it's just absolutely pitch black when you go through that. Haunted Mansion, when you're getting onto Haunted Mansion and when you get off, they do have either a mansion butler or Miss Carletta, I believe was her name, and they're supposed to be ghosts that inhabit the mansion, and they talk to guests, and they're super fun. I think we stood there for a good 5 or 10 minutes just listening to them talk and banter, and it was super cute, really cool the way they did it. So are you going to ride rides, or are you going to just get candy? If you're going to go get candy, you're going to walk away with a ton of candy. We kind of mingled all three of these things, so we didn't get a lot of candy. I think we walked away with maybe 2 full bags of these, but I've seen people walk away with like backpacks full because they're hitting every candy stop multiple times. And that's just what they were there. Because this was our first party, we were just kind of like taking it all in, trying to explore, and we weren't necessarily absolutely after candy. So the third thing is, are you there for the shows? So they do a special stage show, they do a special fireworks, and they do a special parade. I will tell you from my experience, the stage show is really awesome, the parade is really awesome, the fireworks are kind of a meh. They're definitely not one of my favorite fireworks shows. It was very just kind of like, okay, fireworks, they're pretty. So unless you're absolutely 100% a firework fan, you could probably skip the fireworks and just hit these 2 shows. I would recommend the last parade, and I'd recommend the last show, the midnight show. We ended up doing the 10:45 show and then the last parade, which is at 11:15, I think. And even that show was pretty crowded. So from what I understand, the midnight showing is supposedly very empty, and I kind of wish we'd just kind of bebopped over and gotten closer and been able to really see the stage, because that was one of the bigger things we were there for, was the Hocus Pocus stage show. And I think if we end up going back next year, we're gonna get to the midnight stage show so I can get as close to the show as possible. I mean, we had an okay spot off to the left, but I think up front would have been really awesome. There are character meet and greets, so if you're going for the shows, then I would tie that in with character meet and greets, because like the Jack and Sally character meet and greet was like a 45-minute wait. So if you hit that and then you want to go do the shows, you'll have ample time. Now for us, we just mingled. We hit a few of the treat stops. We were able to see the shows, the fireworks, the parades, and ride a few rides. We didn't ride a ton of rides. I would say if you didn't want to go to the parks during the day and you just wanted to ride a bunch of rides, I think we paid like $80 a person, $80, and you're getting absolutely from like 4 to midnight, and technically from 7 to midnight is just Halloween guest. You could do every ride that's open, which is most of the pretty big ones. So you got Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, the Teacups, People Mover was open. I think a majority of the rides were open that night, and you could totally get all those without having to stand in line and pop in and out of treat trails, because even when we got off Splash Mountain, there was a treat trail at the end of it. They were just passing out candy to people that got off of Splash Mountain. So you can do all 3 things, you can experience all 3 things, but keep in mind that if you're trying to experience all 3 things, you're not going to do a lot of all 3 things. Yeah, you can catch the fireworks, the stage show, and the parade if you plan it out correctly. But there's a good chance you're not going to hit a ton of treats trails or a ton of rides, because if you're trying to get good spots for those. Now, keep in mind, we went in middle of September, so we went on the 21st, and when we got over for the fireworks show, it was like being on Main Street for the fireworks show for Happily Ever After at the end of the night. There were just that many people in that park. So yeah, it's a limited event, but it's not that limited, so keep that in mind. And even with like the first shows and stuff, people were all the way back to Casey's and even down Main Street. So, and even with them doing, you know, like 4 shows and 2 parades, the last parade was pretty crowded too. There were barely places to kind of get in to see. So just keep that in mind that while it's a limited event, there's still a ton of people that end up going to these. And I know there's certain nights where like you get less people. Like I understand, like I think Sunday nights are really low, and I imagine going on a Friday night was a bad idea because there's a lot of people that just, that's the first day of their weekend, first night of their weekend, so they're willing to go because they've got all weekend to kind of recoup. But just keep that in mind with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. You know, make sure you've got a plan to go. I hope you enjoyed the information that I was able to give you for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. If you've got any other questions, something you think maybe I missed, or something that I did miss by any means, ask them in the comments below and I'll answer them to the best of my abilities or find out the information as best I can. Looking at this from a bariatric standpoint or a Fat Man review standpoint, going into it as a bariatric patient, I could skip all the candy trails, do rides and shows, and have a blast. Going into it as a fat man, there's a lot of candy in that place. There's a lot of cool treats that are specific to Halloween, and I could have just totally enjoyed myself. But, you know, as far as the rides go, we've reviewed all the rides. So from a Fat Man Reviews, Disney, the rides are fine. But bariatric patient, you could still have a blast. Keep that in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you. Love you. Love your faces. Love all the interactions. I really appreciate it. Till tomorrow.